Okay, so yesterday we have started that object-oriented programming. Okay, so can you revise what are the different pillars of the or the OOP concept that we have studied yesterday? Just try to recall it. What is the first one?
Object, sir.
Yes, first is the object. Hmm. So the first is object, second is class, third is the data abstraction and the encapsulation, inheritance, then polymorphism, next thing. The next one is dynamic binding and message passing. Okay, so the each and everything we have discussed in the last lecture, and I think we started with the object and class, how to create a class, how to create an object, and how to pass your some data to the class. That we have started. I think the last program is this one. Okay, so this is the last program where we have created one ABC class in which very simple one private member is there, num, and two data members, get data and put data. And that get data and put data I have declared outside, so it is called the outside function. And also I have explained you what is the meaning of declaring that, defining that function inside the class and defining the function outside the class. If you are defining that function inside the class, that is known as an inline definition of that function. It means that for every object, it's that definition is repeated. Okay, so every object is having its own copy of the function, its own copy of the function. Every object is having its own copy. But if you are declaring that function outside the class, then only one shared copy of that get data and put data will be used by the will be used by the different object a1, a2, a3, like that. Okay, so only one implementation of get data and put data if you are defining that function outside the class. So generally this method most of time use outside definition, most of time use, but we can have the inline function also, which is having the very less statement inside it or very small definition is there, and that function you can declare inside the class also. But suppose the big implementation is there, and that big implementation if you want to give, then that function should be implemented outside the class. Okay, so generally use that method. And how to declare outside class? Just write down the function definition, and in front of that function definition, function name, just put the its relation, that is get data function is a part of the ABC. So class name double colon get data, your compiler will know that now get data is a part of your ABC class. So any doubt in this last lecture that you have studied? Again, I have one more thing we have discussed about. Though that function has been declared outside, you can make it as an inline also by providing the inline keyword in front of that function definition. So now the get data is an inline function. Okay, so outside function you can make it as an inline also by just defining inline in front of it. So any doubt now? Any doubt? First we will resolve your doubts, and then after that we'll start the new topic. Yes, you can use your chat box to put your doubts. Or if you don't have any doubt, just type no. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. So next topic is the static member. Next topic is the static data member. Static data member. Okay. So what happen if you declare any variable inside your class as a static, then actually what happen we will see here. So I will take one variable cnt, or the suppose count variable. Okay, count variable I'm taking, and now I'm making that count variable as a static variable. Now the meaning of making the static variable is that it is not now related to the object. It is not making the variable as a static. It means that this is not a object variable. This is the class variable. This is the class variable. The meaning is that here, if you are creating the object of the ABC like A1, A2, A3, A1, A2, A3, A1 is having its own num, A2 is having its own num, A3 is also having its separate num, but A1, A2 and A3, these three objects are having only single count variable. There is single count. This count memory, where the memory allocated for that count variable is shared by all the objects. So if you want to create a variable which is shared by all the objects, then make that variable as a static variable. They make that variable as static variable. So whenever you are creating the new object, the count is not created. The count that inside that A4, the count is not there. The count is created when actually the first object get created, and the first object get created, actually the count and num get created, but now the count will be shared by all the remaining objects. All objects will use the same memory location that your first object is using. So A1, A2, A3, A4, that four objects is having the its own num, but only one count variable is there. So I can again show you with the help of this diagram. So here, that if I'm talking about the A1 object, A2 object, A3 object and A4 object, these are the this is the A1 object, this is the A2 object, this is the A3 object, and this is the A4 object. Okay, so in a program actually A1, A2, A3 is having its own num. A2 is also having its own num. A3 also having its own num variable. A4 also having its own num variable. But what about the count variable? The count variable is one separate variable. This is my separate count variable. This is my count variable. This is a separate variable, and all the A1, A2, A3, all A1, A2, A3 shared this count variable. A1 also uses the same memory location, A2 also uses, A3 also uses, A4 also uses the same memory location. So if the A1 has updated the value of count as a 5, then all the remaining object get that count value as a 5. If A4 has updated that count variable as a 10, then all the remaining object will get that count variable as a 10. So generally that count variable, you can say that this is my shared variable which is being shared by all the remaining objects. Okay, so getting this point, A1, A2, A3, A4, getting this point, why generally there is a use of the static data member. So you are creating the static data member only to create one shared variable. Okay, so I can demonstrate here so that it is a shared variable. So I can put here, if I'm assigning the value count is equal to count plus 1. count is equal to count plus 1, and when I'm using the put data, then I'm using cout count. Okay, so here three objects are there: a1, a2, a3. Okay, so and assigning I'm putting C++ count is, and for getting I'm printing that value. Okay, so first I need to put the data. So a1 dot put data. First I'm putting the data as a 10. So 10 is assigned to num1 of a1. Now I'm doing a2 dot put data, so 20. So it means that 20 is assigned to a2 num. Again I'm putting using here a3 dot put data. So it means that here the a3 num has been assigned to 30. But what happened with this count? So when you are actually calling the first put data function, whatever the value of count, generally the static variable is having the default initial value as a 0. So when you are calling the put data function at the first time, now that variable count default value is 0, 0 plus 1, so count becomes 1. So here the count value becomes 1. Count value becomes 1. When you are calling the put data function of the a2, then there also you have access the count variable. Then at that time the count variable, that is the shared variable, having the value 1 now, previous value of 1, now the new value of that count becomes 2. And when you are calling the put data function for the a3, the count variable, which is a shared variable, that value becomes 3. So when you are using a1 dot get data, a2 dot get data, and a3 dot get data, so we can check out here what is the output. Can you tell me what is the output of the this one get data? First one is get data will print the value of that num, so that is 10 get printed. Here 20 get printed, here 30 get printed, but here we have also printed the count variable. Just here I'm putting here count is equal to count. So if I'm trying to run this program, yes, the error is abc count. The count variable you can access by using the name, actually the name of the class. The count is reference from abc get data put data. The symbol is linker command. Okay, so what is the problem here? I need to diagnose first. Count I have access here in a abc. Yes, abc also accessed it. Suppose it is initialized with the 0. By default, it is initialized with 0. Non-static data member must be initialized out of line. Okay, no problem. So problem is abc count reference from abc get data in a put data. The symbol is not found. Okay, so there is some linker error actually. So what is that linker error? I need to find out. COUNT. Okay, the problem is yes. I forgot to mention here the static member. Okay, I have access here the static members, but the static member you can access only in a static function only. So that is the rule. Okay, that I forgot actually that rule. You cannot access the static member of your class in the non-static member of your class. So get data and put data, all are these two functions are the non-static function. If these are the non-static function, then you cannot use that non-static function. Got it? So that's why actually the thing that I want to explain with you, I can't do, because ABC and the get data function, these are the non-static type of the function. Okay, so if it is a static one, then I can accept. For example, if there is a static function, suppose get count function, which is returning, not returning anything, and its implementation is very simple: cout and count. And now non-static function I can call by using the its class name. Yes, colon. Semicolon should be there, control B. ABC count, ABC count reference from ABC get count in the hello, no found for architecture. Okay, so what is this problem? Actually, I don't know. But here, just remember here that if you are defining any static variable, then that static variable you can access within only static member of that class, without using that. If you are trying to access that static member in a non-static function, then it will produce an error. So what is the problem here? Actually, there should be some silly mistake must be there. I need to diagnose here, but the same topic I can revise in the next upcoming class. Okay, so got it, static. So just need to remember here that point I have mentioned with you, that is what do we mean by that static member and what do we mean by non-static member. Static member is called as a your class member. Static member is called as is equal to class member. So it means that it is created only once. The static member is created only once, but the non-static member are the object member. So it means that for every creation of the object, that variable memory get allocated. So now there are 4 nums, but only one count variable is there. Only one count variable and the 4 nums is present here. So getting that is the difference between the static member and the non-static member. So that problem, the program for that static and non-static, actually I will explain in the next upcoming classes. Yes. Now next one, the next topic I want to discuss with you is a object as a function argument. Object as an function arguments. So it means that can I pass the function argument, can I pass your object as a function argument? Definitely you can pass, but how to pass, what is the procedure for it, actually we will get here. How to pass it? For example, there is one class name as a ABC, which is taking one num variable, get data, put data function, the same thing I am explaining here, but one function I am adding here. Just like, for example, I'm making the function as a sum function, which is taking the object of the ABC class itself. So ABC A1 or ABC A, comma ABC B. Okay, so if the sum function is taking the argument as an object of that class itself, then how to handle it. Suppose the sum is printing the sum when you call the sum function, it is printing the summation of the num present in A plus the num variable present in B. So how to access the num in A? You can access the num in A by using the num.a.num. You can access the num present in the B by using the b.num. Now you just need to print out here cout a.num plus b.num, but that's it. So when you call the sum function, then when you call the sum function, whatever the actually you are providing, whatever the object you are providing, that values get added and you will get a answer here. So how to demonstrate it? To demonstrate it, I can put here a1 dot put data. I'm calling the put data function. I'm passing the 10. So it means that a1 num is assigned as a 10. A1 num is assigned as a 10. Now A2 num I want to assign as a 20. So A2 num I'm assigning as a 20. Now here I'm calling the sum function of A3 and I'm passing A1 and A2. I'm passing A1 and A2. So my output, according to me, the output should be 30. The output should be 30. Why? Because when you call the sum function and you are passing the object as an argument, this A1 is passed to A and A2 is passed to B. So A1 num is 10, A2 num is 20. So here A num is 10, B num is 20, and you are adding it. So becomes 10 plus 20, that is 30 should be the output. Let's check your result. So the answer is 30. You are getting the answer as 30. So it means that here I can pass your object of your class. I can pass the object of your class to the function itself. So we can pass the object as a function, as an argument. So if you are passing an object as an argument to a function, the member of that class you can get it by using the dot operator. So a.num, you can get that. Now though that num is a private member, you can still accessing that num by using the object name. You are accessing the num by using object name, but private member is not accessible. Private member is not accessible by using the object. So how it is possible here? It is possible only because sum is not a non-member function of class ABC. It is a member function of ABC. If it is a member function of ABC, then you can access the private member of that class itself. So here the private member of that object can be accessed if the sum is the member function of your class. Member function means the sum is defined inside the ABC. If the sum is not defined into the ABC, just let's check it here. Here the sum, now you can see here sum is not a member function of ABC. You can see here I'm not putting here ABC colon. If I'm not putting here ABC colon, it means that no, sum is a very simple function. C simple function, C language function. It is a non-member function. It is a non-member function. If it is a non-member function, then now if you are trying to access the private member, then it is not available. So if I'm trying to run this program, then there is an error. Num is a private member of ABC and you cannot access it. But just look at the magic here. If I am moving this ABC into the class definition, now, and if I'm trying to run this program, then you get the output perfectly. You will get output as a 30. So why? Because sum is now, the sum is a member function now. This is my member function. Okay, put data also member, get data also member, and sum is also member. If it is member, then we can access the private member of that class itself. So getting this point, object, how to access the private member of the class by using the member function, by using dot operator, we can access it. So getting that point, yes, reply me. Yes, okay. So it means that here now this sum is a member function, then only if sum is a member function, then only I can access here the private member of the class. Getting? Okay. Next one is suppose I'm making this sum, I'm defining this sum outside the class. If I'm defining the sum outside the class, then it is a non-member function. Okay, if it is non-member function, it will generate an error at this point. Yes, we already have tested this. It will generate an error at that point. So I want to give the access, listen carefully, I want to give the access of private member of the class to the non-member function. Is it possible? Can I give the access of the private member of the class to the non-member function? Is it possible? If it is possible, then here the program is not having any error. Here you cannot give the access of the private member to the non-member function. But there is one way is available. One way is available. You can declare that though that sum function is not a member function, but still that non-member function can able to access the private member of that class. Okay, so what we need to do here, what we are doing here, we are giving the access private member to that non-member function. We are giving the private member access to the non-member function. So how to achieve this? If you want to achieve this, what you need to do here, you need to define this. You need to define this here. Yeah, you want to declare here that sum function is not my member function, but the sum function is the friend of mine. The sum function is not a member function, but the sum function is a friend of this ABC function. Now you know that what is the access space, what is the access given to your friend? Suppose your friend is there, your friend can come to your house, he can use your laptop, he can use your room. So it means that if you are giving, but that your friend is not your member of your house, though that your friend is not a member of your house, still he can access your private, still he can access the private member of your class. Here also we can declare that sum is not a member function. I have not given here ABC : but in a class definition I can declare here, I have declared here sum is not a member function, but sum is a friend of ABC. If you are declared the sum as a friend of ABC, it means that here now sum can able to access here the private member of that class. So it is possible. Just we need to do here, that is sum is not a member of the object, so that's why I can directly call the sum as it is. So sum a1 comma a2, and here you will get a output as a sum is equal to 30. Getting? So what thing I have done? Have you cleared? What are the changes I have done here? I have made the sum as a friend function. I have declared the sum as a friend function. Again, I have called the sum function as a separate function. I'm not calling the same sum function by using object. Why I'm not calling the sum function using object? Because sum is not a part of your class. If the sum is not a part of your class, it means that it is not a member function. If it is not a member function, we can call it directly sum of a1 comma a2. But here sum of a1 comma a2 you are doing, but here you are accessing the private member, that is num is a private thing. You are accessing the private field of your class using the object here. Now it is still accessible. It is accessible only if your sum is a friend of your ABC class. If you are removing this line, then there is an error. Getting? Here num is a private member of ABC. Error is num is a private member of ABC. If it is a non-member function, this is your error. But once you declare that sum as a friend function, there is no error. You can access the num variable of A, num variable of B, and you will get that answer itself. So what is friend function? So friend function is a non-member function. You can define the friend function as it is a non-member function of your class declared as a friend in the class definition. And what the friend function can access? The friend function can access the private member of your class. It is very similar like your member function, but it is not a member function. That what the main member function can do, all the things can be done using the non-member function, if that non-member function is a friend function. But the way of accessing the member function, the non-member functions are different. To access the member function, we require the object, but to access the non-member function, we don't require object here. We can directly use the name of that function, sum of a1 comma a2. So getting this point or any confusion in this point? How to declare the function as a friend function? Just add a keyword here. Write that prototype, and in front of that prototype there is a keyword. And always remember that friend function always should be defined outside. It should not be defined inside. So inside definition of friend function not allowed. This is only declaration. It is a declaration that sum is friend of ABC. Okay, it is a very similar like your real life. If someone is friend of you, then your friend can access the private as well as public as well as the protected field. So you can share your things that is private to your friends. So the same concept is implemented in your ABC. Now this friend concept is only available in C++. This is removed in the Java, and this is also not present in the Python. Okay, so you have to only remember until you are in a C++. If you left C++, then there is no friend function, because actually this avoids that access specifier. There is no meaning of access specifier here. If non-member function is accessing the private member, then there is no meaning. The meaning of private is it can be accessed only within class. Outside class, it cannot be accessed. So it means that your private member can be accessed only by the member function. It should not be accessed by the non-member function. But it violates that rule. The friend function violates the rule. The non-member function can also able to access the private member of your class by defining that non-member function as a friend of that function. So getting this point, yes, if you are getting this point, just type got it. Just type got it if you are getting this point, or I need to again re-explain it. Or any point that you have confusion, just type there. Yes. So what to remember? Non-member function can also access the private member. Non-member function can also access the private member of the class by making that non-member function as a public. Yes. Okay. Now the next topic is the constructor. Yes, we start with the constructor. It is a very important topic and very interesting topic. New file, I'm making new file, Control V, Control S, storing it in sys2.c. constructor.cpp. Yes. Okay, suppose this is my ABC class and I want to write the constructor object class. So how to write constructor and what is constructor? First I will explain you. Then after that I will create this object by using the constructor. So the constructor. Okay. The meaning of constructor is it is a member function. Firstly, we need to remember here it is a member function. It means that it is declared inside the class. Yes, it is a member function. It is known as a special member function. Okay, why? What is speciality? It is not a general member function that is your get data and put data. It is special member function. What is speciality? Speciality is having the same name as of your class name. So your constructor function is having the same name as that of your class name. That is the speciality, first speciality. So if you want to write down the constructor of your class, then you should write what is the name of that constructor. It is the same name as that of your class name. So here the class name is ABC, your constructor name should be ABC. The one speciality. Second speciality is it is not returning anything. It is not returning anything. So it means that the member function, that is your constructor member function, constructor function, it is not written anything, not even void. If generally what we are doing, if the get data is not returning, we are putting here void. So no need to put it as a void there. Only your class name and that's it. Your member function, that is your constructor function, is ready to use there. Now it is not written anything, not even a void. Void is also not written. But what is the use of it? What is the use of constructor? The constructor is used to, now remember here, it is used to initialize the object. Okay, so the main job of the constructor is to initialize the object. Initialization of the object means, suppose if there is some data present in your object, this, just take example of the ABC class, this num, and at the time of creation, at the time of the creation of the object, if you want to initialize it. So when you are creating the object, at that time you want to initialize it, then constructor is used there. So constructor is used to initialize the object at the time of creation of object. So when your object get created, you are initialized at the same time. So constructor will be called after creation of the object, and the job of constructor is to initialize the object. So whatever the value you are giving, that value will be assigned to your object. Getting? And how to write the constructor? The name of the constructor is same as that of your class name, and it is not written anything. Now what are the types of constructor we will see? Very first type is the default constructor. The first type is the default constructor. Second type is the parameterized constructor. The third type is the copy constructor. Copy constructor. So we'll see one by one. Default constructor means here you have created object A1 and A2. You have created the object A1, A2, A3. But here you have not written any constructor here. If you are not returning anything, any constructor, then the compiler will provide the constructor to that class. So compiler will provide the constructor, and that constructor is called as a default constructor. If the compiler is providing, the constructor to your class, then there is no initialization will be take place. So your object, the object content or your object data is not initialized into the default constructor if it is provided by the compiler. But here you can write your own default constructor also. Okay, so how to write the own default constructor? First, I will tell you, to write the own default constructor, what you need to do, the name of the constructor you have to specify. The name of the constructor is the same name as that of your class name, yes, ABC. And the default constructor is not taking anything. Default constructor is not taking any argument. If it is not taking argument, then that constructor is called as a default constructor. Okay, so ABC and the empty bracket, now this constructor definition is the default constructor. Now suppose I want to define this num as a 0, then I can define here num is equal to 0. So it means that when you are creating your class with the default constructor, the default value of the num is taken as 0. The default value of num is taken as 0. So you can see here, suppose I have created here A1. I have created A1, and suppose I have not putting any data. I am not putting any data directly. I am calling a1.getData function. When I am calling a1.getData function, what happened? Here actually you have created the A1 using the default constructor. When you are creating default constructor, num is initialized with the value 0. So you are calling get data function, so 0 should be the output. It should be printed as num is equal to 0. Okay, so getting num is equal to 0. If I am initializing with the 10, then you are getting num is equal to 10. Num is equal to 10. So A1 get data, A1 num is also 10, A2 also 10, A3 also 10. So whatever the value you have initialized in your constructor, that value will be assigned to that num here at the time of creation of the object. So when the object get created, you are assigning the value to that num itself. This is called as a default constructor. This is default constructor. Now next one is the parameterized constructor. Now how to write parameterized constructor? Very simple. Just give the parameter, just give the argument, just add some argument to that constructor. So what is the argument? Here I want to initialize the num only. So here I am giving here integer n. So you can you can create the object by giving some value here. So what you need to do here, num is equal to n. When you are creating the object by using parameterized constructor, then whatever the value assigned, that value is given to num. So how to use it? Suppose here A1 is created with the default constructor and the A2 is created with the value 10. So A1 get data should be 0 and the A2 get data should be 10. Why? Because A1 is calling the default constructor, and while creating the object of A2, you are calling the parameterized constructor. So that 10 is passed to n and n is assigned to num. N is assigned to num. So A2 num becomes 10. So when you are using here A2 dot get data, it should give the output as a 10 here. Just check it. When you are checking, you can see here, A1 dot get data will give the num value as a 0, but if you are putting A2 dot get data, you are getting the value as a 10. Okay, so whatever the value you are providing here, that is been assigned to A2 only. Okay, so there are two ways now in which I can create the object. Very first way is use the default constructor. Second way is use the parameterized constructor. Got it? Now third type of the constructor, this is the parameterized constructor. The third type of the constructor is the copy constructor. Now copy constructor is which is taking the argument as its own object. So it means that you want to create here the copy of that object. You want to create the copy of that object only. So whatever the object you are providing, the copy of that object has to be created. So how to create the copy? So simple, the num variable that is equal to a dot num. Very simple. So whatever the num value present in A, that same value is assigned to num of that object. So how to create the object by using copy constructor? So simple, A3 and I'm using A2 here. I'm passing A2. So just create the A3 by using A2. So whatever the value of num present in A2, the same value of num get assigned to A3 here. So A1 and A2 is same. So if I'm giving here A3 dot get data, here you are calling default Here you are created the A1 using default constructor, so 0 will be printed. A2 10, so here 10 will be printed, and here A3 and A2 is same, so A3 dot get also print the num is equal to 10. Okay, so just try to run this program. Okay, as a reference, yes, you should pass a reference here. So you will get output as a num equal to 0, num equal to 10, num is equal to 10. So always remember that here in a copy constructor, you are taking the argument as a object, say object of the self class, object of self class. Constructor is ABC, and you are receiving the reference to the object of the same class to create the copy of that object. To create a copy of that object, so your copy get created, A2 copy get created. Now A1, A2 and A3 both are same. If A2 got get data, 10 get printed, A3 dot get data, 10 get printed. Okay, so if suppose if one object is already present in your computer and you want to create a copy of it, the copy using the copy constructor you can do it. Okay, so these are the three types of the constructor. Default constructor, not taking argument. Parameterized constructor, taking a arguments, taking a parameters. Minimum one a parameter. You can have the multiple parameters. If your class is having the 3 to 4 members here, data member, to initialize that data member, we can put it here, parameter list here. The next one is copy constructor, which is taking the argument as a reference to the object itself. It is a reference to object, that known as a copy constructor. So getting this point, so just if you have the pen and paper with you, just you can write down this definition. Constructor is a special member function having the same name as of your class name, and also it is not returning anything, and it is called automatically. We are not calling constructor here. So yeah, we are not calling constructor, but it is called automatically when the object get created. So it is used to initialize the object at the time of creation. And again, there are three types of the constructor: default constructor, parameterized constructor, and the copy constructor. So how many constructor can we write into the class? Yes, all the possible constructor you can write. You can have default constructor, you can have parameterized constructor, you can have the copy constructor also present in your class. Okay, so number of constructor you can write into your class. The definition of default constructor is a constructor function which is not taking arguments, known as a default constructor. Parameterized constructor function which is taking a minimum one argument is called as a parameterized constructor. And copy constructor, a constructor function which is taking a argument as a reference to that object class, reference to the class of that object, that is called as a copy constructor. Getting? Now I have created here some, okay, so before this I am sharing this program with you in chart window. Okay, okay, now next one is I'm creating the objects here. You tell me which constructor get called. suppose OB2 of 45. So tell me which constructor get called? ABC OB5, OB5. Yes, then ABC OB3 of OB5. Yes, first tell me in a first line which constructor get called? Default, parameterize, or the
Parameterize, sir.
yes parameter. Why parameterize? Because here
Argument
parameter
is
is
provided.
argument is given. So here it is parameterize constructor get called. Okay, next one.
Default, sir.
Yes, default constructor. And next,
Copy construct.
copy constructor. So you can make your object by using three techniques. Okay. Okay. Now here you can create your object by using pointer also. Suppose P T R. Okay. So ABC star PTR. It means that PTR is a pointer to the class. PTR is not object. So to create the object, we are using new keyword, new ABC and this. Okay. So this is the one way to create a object. Another way is simple ABC A1. This is another way. So what is the difference between these two? This one, this and this A1, PTR object and A1. Here also object created. Here also object created. What difference between first and second? Now first is ABC star PTR is equal to new ABC, and suppose some value is given. So parameterized constructor I am calling. This is the first one, and the second one, in the second one actually I am directly doing ABC A1. Okay. So the difference between, what is the difference between these two? So in a first case actually there is one pointer is there, pointer having the name as PTR. Okay, PTR is a pointer. Now using the new keyword you are creating one object. This is my object which is having the function as well as the data. So that is your num, it is having its num. Yes, and now it is a memory location, so it must have some starting address. Suppose the starting address is, suppose 200 is the starting address. So what the PTR contains? The PTR contains the address of that object. So it means that PTR is pointing to this object. So PTR is a separate variable and PTR is pointing to this object. PTR is a pointer of that object. But if I'm talking about this technique ABC A1, then what happened inside the memory? Inside the memory, the object get created having the name as a A1. So here in a above problem, this one, in this, there is no name given to that memory location. There is no name given. But here the name is given as a A1. The name of that memory is given as A1. This memory, the above memory, you only identify by its address, and the address is stored in PTR. So using PTR, I can access this object. But here to access that memory, you have directly the name is given. Getting the point now? What is the difference between ABC star PTR is equal to new ABC and ABC A1? One more difference is that if you are using this method, then you are using the dynamic allocation. You are using dynamic allocation. It means that the memory for this object, is the heap memory. Memory for the object is heap memory. But here, if you are using ABC A1, the A1 is created on stack memory. A1 is created on stack memory. That is the again the difference, second difference. So if you are using a new keyword, then the object created is stored at heap memory. And if you are using directly ABCA1, the object created is stored at the stack memory. So where you want to store your object, just use that technique. Yes, getting this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now next one is, if I want to access this put data function here. So how to access by using A1? I want to access by using A1. A1 dot put data, very simple. Suppose 30 I want to put. So A1 dot put data directly. So to access this type of the object, we are using dot operator. But now here, I want to access here put data function. I want to access put data function of the object which is present in the heap memory or dynamic memory. So how to access it? So I can't use here dot operator. I can't use here a dot operator. So the operator that you already study in your C language, that is arrow operator, should be used. To access the object, we should use arrow operator. Dynamic object, we use the arrow operator. To access the dynamic object, we use the arrow operator. PTR of arrow, and which function? Put data function. I want to access. Suppose 20. And again, I want to access the get data also. So get data. Here also A1 get data also I want to access. So I need to put here dot operator. So that is the difference between accessing the member function of your object. If your object is dynamic object, use arrow operator. If your object is your stack memory object, then use dot operator. And you will get the output, that is num is equal to 20 in case of your dynamic object and num is equal to 30 in case of your normal object. So getting this point? Yes, okay. The same problem I have shared with you. So just try it yourself, that is how to create the dynamic object. To create a dynamic object, use this technique ABC star PTR, or instead of this directly you can go here and directly assign here itself. ABC star PTR is equal to ABC. Your default constructor has been called because no argument is present. But here if you are giving here 20 or suppose 50, then the default parameterized constructor will be called. The output is 20 and 30 itself, because though you are initializing, it is get replaced here, put data 20, 50 is replaced by the 20. Okay, so this is all about the constructor. The next topic is the destructor. Now destructor you can write, generally destructor is again the special member function. Special member function which is having the same name as that of your class name, but preceded by that tilde symbol. So to type the destructor, you should put here tilde, then after that the default constructor syntax. The destructor should not take any parameter here. Destructor argument should always be a 0. So how many destructor can be present in your class? Only one destructor. How many constructor can be present? Yeah, any number of constructor. But how many destructor can be present? Only one destructor. And that is this syntax is this one. Tilde ABC and the empty bracket and then that curly brackets. So that destructor has been called. To print it, I am using this destructor call. I'm just printing a destructor call. So when actually destructor get called, it will print destructor call. Okay. So just I'm running this program and the statement destructor call is being executed. So here only one destructor call. There are two objects are there. First, this is the first object, this is the second object, but only one destructor call function will be called. Because if there are two objects, two destructor should be called, one for the first, second for the second, but there is only one destructor. So why this is the case? Because the destructor call is only for this A1. This is not get destructed. This is not destroying, because this object is not created on stack memory, it is created on heap memory. And if you are creating your object on heap memory, then you have to delete it. You have to delete it. So how to delete that object? Very simple. To delete the object, there is a function named as a delete. Okay, actually it is not function, it is operator. There is operator named as a delete operator. Using the delete operator, you can delete the object, dynamic object. So here PTR is deleted. A1 is automatically deleted. When the main function goes out of the scope, A1 is automatically deleted. But the object which is pointed by the PTR should be deleted by yourself. So I am using the delete PTR. Now if I'm running this program, now you can see here there are two destructor called will be there. One destructor is of the A1, the second destructor is of the object which is pointed by the PTR. So what is destructor? Destructor is the member function. It is a special member function. It is called just before destroying the object. Just before destroying the object. Before destroying the object, destructor function get called. And what generally we are doing inside the destructor, all the resource deallocation we are doing in destructor. In a constructor, we are doing initialization and the resource allocation. Example, suppose for there is my software is there. In my software, I have created one class, and now this class actually need to open a file which is present on your hard disk. So file open operation should be done in default. It should be done in the constructor, and the file close operation will be done in your destructor. So allocation of the resource will be done in constructor. Deallocation of the resource will be done in destructor itself. Getting? So when the constructor called, after allocating the memory to your object, constructor will be called. And when the destructor will be called, destructor will be called just before destroying the object. Before destroying, it is not called after destroying. It is called before destroying the object. First destructor call, then the memory is deallocated for your object. And how many destructor we can write into your class? Only single destructor is present. How many constructor we can write? A number of constructor can be written in your class. Getting? Are you taking notes? Are you taking notes for from this class? If you have pen and paper, actually you can note down that all the important point that I am telling to you. Otherwise, all the points is available in your Balaguru Swami. You can refer the Balaguru Swami actually book to have these definitions. I have always referring that book, very good book to clear your C++ basics. Okay, so today actually we have taken that two topics, constructor and the destructor. So just revise constructor. It is a special member function having the same name as that of your class name, which is not return anything, not even void. Constructor is used to initialize the object at the time of creation of the object. There are three types of constructor: default constructor, parameterized constructor, copy constructor. Default constructor, which is not taking any argument, known as a default constructor. Parameterized constructor, which is taking minimum one argument, known as a parameterized constructor. Copy constructor, which is taking an object of the reference itself. Reference, it taking the reference of that object itself, known as a copy constructor. Okay, then after that we have seen the topic as a destructor. So destructor is a special member function which is having the same name as that of your class name, but preceded by the tilde symbol. There is only one destructor present in your class, and that is your default destructor. There is no such a term as a parameterized destructor or the copy destructor. Only default constructor is present, destructor is present, and it is just called before destroying the object. Yes. Okay, so this is the only point today's topic in the today's topic. The next topic is the, I think, operator overloading. Actually we will take that operator overloading tomorrow, but you just have to try this constructor, destructor, create one or two classes. I will share you the programs. You have to create that programs. You have to try for that program, create the class, create the destructor, create the constructor, write some member function inside it, create some data member inside it, just create an object and play with that object. Just assign the value, display the value. If you are going for the practical only, then only you will able to learn C++. If you only study the theory, then you never get into the C++. It is, you can say that it is much more difficult language than C language and your Java language, because it is a conceptual language. C++ is not a logical language, it is a conceptual language. You first need to study the concept of OOP, and it is very difficult to get into the OOP when if you are doing all programs in your procedure oriented before this. Okay, so most of the theory topics you have to first remember and then go for your programming. Okay, so that's all for today's. The tomorrow we will start with the new topic, operator overloading. But if you have any doubt, then I can also extend the constructor and destructor up to tomorrow. If you have any doubt, then only I can tell you. Otherwise, I can move forward to explain the next one. Just refer that book, Balaguru Swami, Object Oriented Programming by Balaguru Swami. And again, today I am going to share you with the examples. Just try that example at your end, and if possible, then share the solution of it on your WhatsApp group itself.